Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna give you guys the highlights of our Paris, France honeymoon trip. Initially we didn't plan to go to France at all. It was by mistake. In fact, France seemed to be our only option after we made like a huge mistake. So basically we had initially planned to go to Japan. So we got on our flights. 10 hours later, we were in Narita airport in Japan, and then we tried to pass immigrations. They told us to go do COVID test. We were negative there, and then they held us for secondary inspection. So we were at the asylum area of Narita airport. We hadn't even left at all, crossed security. And then they told us, they asked us for our visas, and we're like, we don't have visas. Canadian, American, visa-free travel. And then they told us no. They said because of COVID we're not allowed into the country without a visa, and obviously this was something we did not know. So we were told that these COVID restrictions were going to be removed October 11th. So our trip occurred on the 5th of October, I think. We were sent back, so we're banned, we're removed from Japan. They told us sorry. They were very apologetic though, but excuse me, you're kicking me out. How apologetic can you be? Well, so we got back on the same flight, Emirates flights that brought us into Japan, and then we got back to Dubai. Now, getting to Dubai, this was after 20 hours of flying. I was exhausted. In fact, for the first time in my life, my feet were swollen after a flight, which was to be expected, right? So I was really upset. Matt obviously too was quite upset because this was a major wrench in our plans. So when we got to the airport, we just looked at the board, the arrivals, departures board, and we pretty much did a mini mo trying to figure out what country we could go to that wouldn't have any restrictions. We thought about Georgia, we thought about Turkey, we thought about London, but you know, we kept saying we weren't too sure. So we eventually decided Europe was pretty open, and we could both go to Europe, you know, at a moment's notice. So we decided to go to Paris because the flights to Paris was leaving within the next couple of hours. We hurriedly bought our tickets, and then we decided, because we were too tired and we had time before our flight, we decided to book a place to sleep at the airport. So at Dubai airport, you're able to actually book some kind of pods which look like a nice bed, sort of like a twin bed, where you guys could sleep, catch a few hours sleep. So that's what we did. We booked and slept at the airport for a couple of hours just before our flights. Then we got on our flight and went to Paris. Initially we were booked accommodations in Kyoto, that this is in Japan. Luckily, because we were booked with the Hyatt, we were able to cancel most of those. Paris, the plan that instead of just staying in Paris and looking at like exploring Paris, we wanted to explore more than Paris, so the greater French countryside. So that's what we did. Our first day in Paris, we just went into Paris, really went to the Arc de Triomphe. Please don't come for my French, eh? So we just walked around and we're exhausted from all the traveling. So this was like our second, third day now in Paris. After that, we found our rhythm. Our first experience out of Paris itself was to Lyon. Now we took the train from Paris to Lyon, and that was about 2 hours, 2.5 hours via train. Lyon is beautiful, guys. So I'm just going to highlight our experience in pictures. Oh, there are lots of murals. Lyon has this medieval and Renaissance architecture, so a lot of the buildings just looked like it was from a fairy tale book. So when we got to Lyon, we just explored the old districts of Lyon, and then we also went to the Basilica. It's the La Basilique Notre Dame de Fourvière. So the basilica was really nice. It's white. Then we also went to the miniature museum at Lyon as well, which was pretty cool. And then just before we went back to Paris, while we were waiting for our train, we chilled at the Parc de la Tête d'Or, which is the English Garden. After exploring Lyon for the whole day, we got back to Paris. So guys, if you go on Groupon or Visit France websites, you see that a lot of people have these day trips that you could book to different regions of France. So Mont St Michel was one of those day trips, right? And Mont St Michel was far. We got up to catch the bus at about, I think, 4:30 a.m. The bus departed at about 7 a.m. or so. It was a nice trip if you were not sleeping, because you're seeing all of the French countryside. And then we got to Mont St Michel, basically spent the whole day there. Quite honestly, I wouldn't say we did specific things, we just went exploring. So it wasn't like we were like going to go weave silk. It wasn't. We're just, because we've never been to these places before, we're trying to take in as much as we just walking around, which is what we did in both of these places. Mont St Michel was a very nice experience, and the castle was beautiful, the history too was beautiful. So on our last day in Paris, we decided to rent a car and go visit Loire Valley. So we heard so much about Loire Valley. Loire Valley, it's not far, it's about 2-3 hours away from Paris itself, and basically it's known to the French as the cradle of the French. It's got a ton of vineyards and beautiful castles. It really just shows and describes French countryside perfectly. The Loire Valley has a ton of like chateaus. The first castle, which is a chateau we visited, was the Chateau de Chambord. So we also went to Cheverny, but the place was dead, guys. It was completely empty. We just walked around, fooled ourselves. I was running down the main highway like, you know, there was no tomorrow. But it was just so pretty. And then at the end of the day, we went towards the Chateau de Boise, and we just looked for somewhere to have dinner, and we proceeded to drive back to Paris. All in all, it was nice. It was a good experience. But the next time we go to Paris, I'm gonna definitely spend more time just steeping myself in all of these places, especially Lyon. I love Lyon a lot, and definitely exploring other parts of Paris. I hope you guys enjoyed our highlights. Remember, if you plan to go anywhere, make sure you check the restrictions. Thank you guys. I hope you guys have a good day. Bye.